Hello friends, we from Group 2 will make a presentation about learning words. We consist of 5 people, namely Jalung Remondo, Hendri Yansen, Veronica Jeremy Lawrence Engkodoi, and the last one is Maharanie Tasya. Before we get into the discussion material, it helps us to know in advance what vocabulary is. Oral vocabulary refers to the words we use in speaking or understanding in listening. Vocabulary reading refers to the words we understand or use in print media. In a simple view of reading, which describe reading as having two basic components, word recognition and comprehension, vocabulary comes under understanding language. Vocabulary play an important role in learning to read. Beginner readers should use the words they hear orally to understand the words they see on the print. Consider, for example, what happens when a when a when a novice reader hears the word dig in a book. As he begins to recognize the sound represented by the letters D, I, and G, the reader learns that the sound is very familiar word that he has heard and pronounced many times. It is more difficult for novice readers to understand words that are not yet part of the spoken vocabulary. In addition, as children begin to read longer, more complex type of words, many English words have more than one plausible phonetic pronunciation. For example, the canopy could be ka no nop e, not can up e, so can be pronounced with a long I in the first syllable, such as time ID, instead of the short I. If children already have this word in their spoken vocabulary, it will be easier for them to read the words correctly. Vocabulary is also very important for reading comprehension. Readers cannot understand what they are reading without knowing what most of the words mean. As children learn to read advanced text, they must learn the meanings of new words that are not part of their spoken vocabulary. There are 4 types of vocabulary. Listening to vocabulary, the words we need to know to understand what we hear. Speaking vocabulary, the words the words we use when we speak. Reading vocabulary, the words we need to know to understand what we read. Writing vocabulary, the words we use in writing. In assessing vocabulary for novice or struggling readers, the use of oral measures, vocabulary for listening and or speaking, is very important. Writing vocabulary measures will confuse vocabulary knowledge with reading skills. For example, if a poor decoder scores low on the size of vocabulary that needs to be read, it can be difficult to tell whether the low score truly reflects vocabulary limitation or simply the fact that the child cannot decode the words on the test. Okay, we will start to go into the first discussion, namely vocabulary development, which will be explained by Hendri Yansen.
Good morning, everyone. Now I'm going to continue presentation. In this section, I will discuss about organization of word in our language. The first one is function and content word. A second is sense relation. And the last one is summary and teaching principle. The first one is function and content word. The words are split roughly into two groups according to how they are used to construct the sentence. Content words are those that carry lexical meaning even out of the context, whereas function words seem to be mainly used to carry grammatical meaning. So, lexical meaning refers to the sense of word or lexeme, as it appears in dictionary, also known as semantic meaning. Meanwhile, grammatical meaning is the meaning conveyed in sentence by word order and grammatical signals, also called structure meaning. For example, the little house in the street was built when my mother was a child. For example, we know the underlined words are content words. Meanwhile, all other words are function words. So, content words form of one set in that can be invited, whereas the set of function word is closed. Alright, when the children learn a function word incidentally through direct teaching or explanation, and content words can be taught in more fluent and explicit way. In the function word, there are modal, pronouns, auxiliary verbs, article, prepositions, determiners. Meanwhile, in the content word, there are nouns, lexical verb, adjective, and the last one is adverbs. Second is sense relations. Content word meanings in language can relate to each other in a range of ways. It's called sense relation, also labeled a semantic relation or lexical relation. Types of sense relation, they are antonymy, synonymy, hyponymy, meronymy. Antonymy being opposite the meaning. For example, alive and dead. Synonymy having the same meaning. For example, rich, wealthy. And hyponymy, one is an example or type of other. For example, furniture and chair. Meronymy, one is the part of another's. For example, army and soldier. Alright, the last one is summary and teaching principle. Because the content and the function word work indifferently in language will be taught and learned differently. So, teaching function we need to teaching a function word will be accurate through the repeated use in different contexts. And this one, the last one is teaching content word can be taught more directly. Also, we need to consider the suitable text for learner to set vocabulary demands when I teach a young learner. Alright, I think that's all from me.
Okay, I will continue Hendri's presentation. I will explain about learning and teaching vocabulary. So in this part, I will explain about first, the dynamic nature of vocabulary learning. Second, learning the meaning of new words, attending form, making a strong memory connections, and extending children's vocabulary beyond the book. First, the dynamic nature of vocabulary learning. Based on Hedge and Brown 1995, there were 5 essential steps in vocabulary learning. There were first is having sources for encountering new words, getting a clear image, visual, audio, or audiovisual. Third is learning the meaning of words. Fourth is making a strong memory connection between the forms and meaning. And then the last is using the words. Second, learning the meaning of new words. There are two ways we can use to learn the meaning of new words. First is by demonstration or pictures, and then the second is by verbal explanation. By demonstration or pictures. In this case, we can using an object, using a cut-out figure, using gesture, performing an actions, photographs, drawing or diagrams, and then pictures from the book. The second, by verbal explanation. First, analytical definition, and then the second is putting new words in a defining context. For the example, an ambulance takes sick people to hospital. We can say an ambulance over and over again and stress the word ambulance to the children so that children can know what ambulance is, and they have shape of ambulance in their head, and then they have abstract in their head about ambulance. And then they can also conclude that ambulance is a transportation for taxi people to hospital. And then the third is translating into another language. In this case, we can translate into our mother tongue, our first language, which is Indonesia. But sometimes a new word is first explained in the foreign language or with a pictures. Because when we use these techniques over and over again, like translate to Indonesia, the children lose their interest about guess the meaning, because the translation is predictably given afterwards. And then the third is attending to form. Okay, in this part, attending to form is how a word is pronounced and how it is written. For the example, ambulance. Ambulance. So we stress the words and we give them two pictures. There's ambulance in there, and the second pictures there is no ambulance in there. And then the children pick where is ambulance? Is it in the first pictures or is it in the second pictures? So that the children can know the clear image of ambulance. And then the fourth is make a strong memory connections, divided to fourth part. First is thematic organization of vocabulary, and then the second is organization of vocabulary through relations of whole two parts. The third is organization of vocabulary in general to specific hierarchies, and then organization of vocabulary through words and antonyms. And then the last is an organization vocabulary in ad hoc categories. First, thematic organization of vocabulary. Things that go together or happen together. A theme can be seen as including people plus objects plus action plus process, or combination of action plus typical events and then plus places. The children can build up the theme. For the example, we give them shopping, and then the children can pick the things or the activity in the shopping based related to the theme. And then the second is organization of vocabulary through relation of whole parts. For the example, body, arms, legs, fingers. In this case, we can explain to the children that arms are the parts of our body, and then the fingers are the part of our legs. And then the C is organization of vocabulary in general to specific hierarchies. We can see these hierarchies. First is food, second is vegetables, and then the third is cabbage. So the children can know that cabbage is a kind of vegetables, and vegetables is a kind of food. And then D, organization of vocabulary through words and antonyms. Hot, warm, and cold. This is the example. The example can be given to the children, that children can know what kind of hot drink, or what kind of hot food, and then we can give them also the example of cold drink and then cold food. And then the last is organizing vocabulary in ad hoc category. In this case, collecting of putting things together. It means that collections of things put together on the spur of the moments. For the example, things to take on picnic. We can give them several pictures that the children can pick up, which is the things that we can bring to the picnics. And then 5 is extending children's vocabulary beyond the books. First is working outwards from the textbooks. And then the second is learner's choice. It means that we can ask them what we are gonna learn about the vocabulary. Like maybe we can pick the theme for them. For the example is wild animals. The teacher could write wild animals on the board and ask the children what they already know and which words they would like to know in the foreign language. And then the third is incidental learning of vocabulary through stories. Okay, that's all for my part. I will continue to the next presentation.
Hello and good morning everyone. Now I'm going to continue the presentation. Now I'm going to present you children's vocabulary learning strategies, presented by myself, Jeremy Lewrence Engkodoi. Children's vocabulary learning strategies. By vocabulary learning strategies, it means the actions that learners take to help themselves understand and remember vocabulary. Smith, 1997, makes a useful distinction between discovery strategies such as looking up a new word in dictionary or guessing from its context. Consolidation strategies such as learning lists of words or asking someone to test you. Next is empirical evidence on the usefulness of strategies. Much empirical work has been done on vocabulary learning strategies, although very little with young language learners. Smith 1997 contains an overview and a taxonomy of strategies. Some studies have have investigated strategy used by secondary level pupils, just likely older in age. This shows that strategy use changes with age, and the successful and less successful learners vary in what strategies they use and in how they use them. Scotland van Pereren, 1992, investigated Dutch 12 to 15-year-olds working out the meanings of new words in reading French as a foreign language. She found that weak learners who generally had smaller vocabularies in the first language did not make systematic use of the information about a word available in the text. Unlike strong learners, who pick information from the linguistic context, topic, illustrations, and etc., weak learners tended to focus on just one or other source of information that seemed salient to them. This means they often guess the meaning of words without enough information to get them right. They also did not embed new words in tightly connected networks of information and meaning, and were less successful at remembering them. They were also flexible as learners. They were also less flexible as learners, not looking beyond what was salient and staying with a meaning when they had guessed it, even if it was clearly not correct. The difference between learners suggests useful strategies that teachers can encourage learners to adopt. Guessing meanings by using all the information available in the picture or text. Noticing grammatical information about words from the way they are used. Noticing links to similar words in the first language. Remembering where a word has been encountered before and how that helps with its form and meaning. Strategies and young learners. Smith 1997 suggests introducing children to a range strategies so that these are available for learners to choose from as suits their individual learning styles. Certainly, many of the strategies used by older learners can be seen as having their roots in what happens earlier. It is clear too that learners may not adopt strategies automatically, and thus some explicit training might be helpful. The general principles of helping children to learn apply to teachers can model how to use strategies and draw children's attention explicitly to aspects of strategy use. For example, teacher can show how to find clues to the meaning of a new word in a picture or in other words in the same sentence. Teachers can teach the soft skills needed to make use of strategies. For example, use a dictionary efficiently requires knowledge of alphabetical order and lots of practice. Classroom tasks can include structured opportunities for using strategies. For example, when reading a story, teachers can explicitly encourage prediction of the meaning of new words. Independent strategies can be rehearsed in classrooms. For example, children can be helped to prepare lists of words that they want to learn from a lesson. Can be shown ways of learning from lists and later can be put in pairs to test each other. And the last, young learners can be helped to reflect on the learning process through evaluating their achievements. For example, at the end of lesson, they can be asked how many new words they have learned, which word they need to learn more about.
Summary. Vocabulary has been seen as a major research for languages. Early foreign language learning offers the chance for learners to build up solid core of words useful for further learning. Together with words, they are learned because they interest or excite young learners at that age. However, early vocabulary learning may be ineffective if words are not consolidated and used regularly. Children entering secondary education will have varying amounts of words. Some they have mastered really well, some only partially learned, and some that they have met once or twice but not remembered. It should not be assumed that children know what they have been taught. The content of their course, books, or syllabus. They know what they have learned. Progression in vocabulary learning has been examined from several different perspectives. The first one is over the timescale of primary education. Progression in conceptual development impact on vocabulary learning. As children get older, they are more able to handle abstract ideas and words as well as concrete in the here and now, and to work outwards from basics level concepts to more general and more specific concepts and vocabulary. The second, over lessons and years. Knowledge about particular words can be seen as a progression from partial knowledge of their meaning, use, and form to fuller knowledge. The third, over tasks and lessons, progression in vocabulary learning moves from receptive and initial understanding of what a word means to being able to use it appropriately. Two key ideas for teaching that have emerged are that the linking of words and meaning in connected networks can be exploited for meaning and memorizing, and that recycling previously made words in varied contexts and activities is essential to keep learned words active. In previous chapter, we considered the development of discourse skills. Vocabulary is fundamental to using the foreign language as discourse, since vocabulary is both learned from participating in discourse and is essential to participating in it. Teachers planning may separate vocabulary as research from discourse skills in order to think about which words are to be learned and how. But from a pupil's viewpoint, the separation should be much fuzzier. They will encounter new words in a discourse context, which will provide many clues to their meaning and use. They will begin to use new words in a discourse context that make sense to them and which contain many better known words. They will eventually have those words ready for use in discourse to communicate their own ideas. When words are assembled into discourse, what holds them together is grammar. And it is to grammar that we turn our attention next. Thank you.
That's a presentation from us. If you have any question, please write in the comments column of this video. Thank you.